Hey, destroy, build, destroy. What's up? And today I'm going to do another mini albums reviews. Mini album reviews. Anyway, wow, I have so many things to talk about. Here's the script. I don't know why lately I just show people scripts. Like, it's, you wouldn't want to read this. It looks terrible. It's a mess, but hey, I'm gonna talk about 5 albums again. Yeah, there's this police car that's just, oh, it's gone. Alright. Anyway, Young Fathers with Cocoa Sugar. Young Fathers, Scottish African trio. Well, it's a trio, and 2 of them is Scottish African, and 1 of them is just Scottish. Anyway, Scottish African trio who released a lot of albums and mixtapes for the past few years. Why is it so bright outside? Jeez. Anyway, back to the topic, and they have released Cocoa Sugar, and at first I was really excited about this album. I anticipated this album a lot because of the teaser singles being quite good. However, after listening to this album a lot of times, it's not that good of an album in my opinion, and you cannot listen to this album like song by song separately. You know, it doesn't sound good when you listen to the songs individually. You have to listen to the whole thing together because it goes really well together. It's more cohesive together, but just the song as itself is just kind of awkward because this album, although there are some great sequencing, some pretty quality instrumentals on this album, a lot of the tracks on this album feels like overextended interludes, and the songs lack a good structure. The choruses and the verses, they feel kind of mild and weak and awkward, so it's actually kind of underwhelming. The album starts off with See How, which is a really innocent and humble beginning, and it also has this really interesting ragged strings that accompanies really well with the instrumentals itself, and I actually kind of like See How. And then the next track, Fee Fi, it's this cartoony, funny, kind of funny. And this track also feels kind of ominous with this jazz blues feel to it. That's kind of weird. And then the third track is actually really good in my view. One of my favorite singles of the year so far. It is probably the most powerful ballad on this track with some really good and meaningful but cryptic lyrics that's quite interesting. And then there's the fourth track, Turn, which is really awkward in my opinion. You have this sequence, this loop that's going around and around in the background nonstop while the vocalist, he just kind of half spoken word, half singing, and it's just really awkward. And the vocals are super dragged, they're super long-winded, and they're just I don't know what's that. I think they have gone a little bit too overboard on this track. Next track, Tremolo. Oh wait, did I skip Lord? I think I skipped Lord. Yes, Lord comes first, and it is basically the stargazing, powerful chant, and it's super powerful. It almost sounds like it's a religious chant, and it has these pianos that goes up the arpeggios, and it's really beautiful pianos, and it kind of reminds me of Perfume Genius. I think I've heard this before somewhere. But anyway, the next track is Tremolo, which has some pretty interesting, echoey, vibrating vocals in the chorus section, but the keyboards, the synths, they are just not as thrilling, not as adventurous. I got another text message, yay. The next track is Wow, which has some unexpected instrumentals. The texture and the flavor is a little bit different from other tracks on the album. It has a pretty driving beat, and you have these synths that pops up in the left and pops up in the right, and like towards the end of a track, you hear this moaning sound that's just really weird. It feels kind of out of place, and overall, it's a little bit underwhelming, but it's not that bad. Also, the next track, Border Girl, is actually way better than I've imagined. It has a really hard-hitting instrumental. It has this swooping beat, and there's a point in this track where all the instrumentals gonna go together and just blast with such harmony. And wow. And then we also have a Holy Ghost, which is a pretty smart, braggadocious song. I got the Holy Ghost by me! And it's kind of a banger, and it's a pretty fun banger as well. The track Toy, it has some really tense instrumentals, and the rap verses, they are really experimental, a little bit avant-garde flavored, but it's also really fun, and it's a teaser single that I really enjoyed, so there's that. And then there's Wire, which is pretty mild, pretty weak, pretty underwhelming. And yeah, we have the last track, Picking You, which sounds super straightforward. It sounds super, it's kind of uplifting, but it's not that dancey or groovy of a track. I guess it's a pretty decent album ending, but yeah, overall, it's kind of underwhelming of an album. There's a lot of underwritten tracks that I feel like aren't that bold. It could be way more experimental, it could be way more adventurous, but however, there are still a handful of I guess memorable tracks on this album, but also a handful of forgettable tracks on this album. um, the instrumentals are really nice, they're quality instrumentals, so yeah, a 7 out of 10. Next up, we will be talking about Andrew W.K.'s You're Not Alone. New York singer-songwriter, party, hardcore party, rock man, Andrew W.K., who is known for his super bombastic, loud, overblown, super sugary, and saturated party rock songs. And for a while, he kind of went off from music a little bit, and he ran this Santos party house thing, and he also he was also in Cartoon Network for a show called Build, Destroy, Build, and or Destroy, Build, Destroy. I don't know. I think I've got that wrong. Anyway, he's back with You're Not Alone, and it is a grand return. Just over 50 minutes of loud, positive, and also somewhat fun music. Yeah, it's such a super positive album, and on this album, he's way more mature than he was before. And again, this album is packed with sugary but also loud arena rock tracks that has super dramatic drums, masculine vocals, and this album overall, it's a feel good album. It's a motivational album. It has a sense of positivity, so positive. It's it's burning. It has a burning sensation of positivity. And yeah, again, it's all about partying, but except on this album, the term party is more philosophical. Instead of actually partying, it's more about living and never giving up, overcoming obstacles, always trying, going with life, and don't back down, and yeah, Andrew WK actually gives a lot of good and meaningful advices throughout the album, encouraging us to stay positive and stay strong. And there are also these spoken word interludes that are extremely positive. We hear nothing but Andrew WK just telling you and giving you advices on how you should go through dark times, and how sometimes you feel clueless, but that's just a feeling of being alive. And man, that is like, wow, like that's positive. The track Music is Worth Living For is probably my favorite on the entire album because at first I think this song is a little bit too overblown, a little bit too dramatic for my taste, not artistic at all, but actually it's actually a good track. It has these blasting, soaring guitars and this glistening synths, and it's a super exciting and blood pumping track. You know, it's just super uplifting. Music is worth living for. Yeah. And then there's also the track called Ever Again, which sounds a little bit edgier, a little bit more I guess I don't know, but it's also a super fun track. And then there's a I Don't Know, which is a really exciting, really sweet rock tune with some driving drums and a super heavy, sugary, fat bass, and I enjoy it. And then there's a Give Up on You, which is a super like epic and encouraging chant, and it almost feels like this is a religious song, but not like spooky religious, but you know, the Catholic kind of religious, and it's not bad, not at all. And then there's also some more uplifting tracks, such as a Devil is on Your Side, and it basically talks about how the devil actually helps you, how obstacles actually help you to grow, and it's really meaningful. I like it. And then there's a Total Freedom, which is also super amazing song. It's a super amazing song. Mind My Grammar. It's a really beautiful and visceral track, and it has this mix of the Killers vibe and Coldplay vibe that actually mixes really well together. And the last track, it's the title track, and it's an excellent ending. And overall, although there are tracks that feels a bit bloated, there are tracks that feels a bit one-noted, such as Party Mindset, but still, this album, it's just raw positivity. And this album, it cures depression. It cures all depression because it is so positive. It's like a very warm and sweet hot shower after a cold day outside. And that's the best I can describe this album for you. And yeah, I'm enjoying this album. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. The next album, Ed Schrader's Music Beats with their new album, Riddles. And Ed Schrader's Music Beat, I wasn't too familiar with their music before, but now I've listened to this album, I know about them. And they're pretty well known for their stripped back, kind of punk flavored rock tunes, and it's actually pretty cool. They are a duo from Maryland, and yeah, that's just a piece of fact that I've learned. It doesn't relate to the music at all. Anyway, the album starts off with Dunce, which is one of my favorite songs of the year so far. It's super energetic, but it's also catchy, although it's pretty one note. But they used this one note characteristic and turn it into such a catchy and energetic and blood pumping song with these roaring synths. Dunce can't get leg up, Dunce can't get leg up, and the vocals are just really nervous. It's growling, and I'm just really impressed with this track. And then we have Seagulls, which is also super one note. The guitars is kind of chill. It's kind of lo-fi, low-key, but it's not that bad of a song. It's just decent. And then there is Riddles, which is the title track. It's really uplifting. It has these graceful pianos that sprinkles around, and it's a really uplifting, really dancey ballad that I think isn't bad at all. There's also a track called Wave to the Water that's actually kind of underwhelming because it's probably the most quiet song on the album. And then Dizzy Devil, Rust, Kid Radium, all of these three tracks are also really energetic. Then you, and it also has the same chord progression with Dunce, the same chord. There's not really a progression in it, but it's actually quite energetic, quite fun, quite focused as well. We also have an interlude, Humbucker Blues, a guitar-driven interlude that isn't bad at all, but it's also not that impressive. And then we have Tom, which has these grand melodramatic pianos that doesn't try that hard to be melodramatic, however. And then we have Culebra, which is the album ending. It's a little bit odd, but overall it's an okay song, and overall the album is okay. A couple of amazing tracks in this album, and all the rest of the tracks are decent, are run of the mill at least, decent at best. And I'm actually kind of impressed by this album. I thought I would not like this album at all, but I mean, it's actually not that bad. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Yes,